The title of the book is Running from Bondage: Enslaved Women and Their Remarkable Fight for Freedom in Revolutionary America, written by Karen Cook Bell and first published in 2021. The author arranged stories of Black women that escaped or tried to escape in the late 1700s to early 1800s. Running from Bondage explains how and why Black women sought freedom during the American Revolution. During the Revolutionary era, Black women and men had the opportunity to escape bondage due to the chaos of the war in presence of the British troops. One-third of the runaway were women due to the physical, mental, and emotional abuse caused by slavery. Motherhood, freedom, and the love for their family inspired women to escape. In each chapter of Running from Bondage, there is a newspaper advertisement by the enslavers offering rewards and description of the fugitive women who sought freedom or a safe haven. The stories of the fugitive women are an act of recovery from the trauma many Black women experienced during the 5 decades described in this book. I read this entire book, cover to cover, every page, every word on every page. I would recommend this book. Karen Cook Bell wrote this book to the countless enslaved and free Black women whose stories have not been told, but it resonated with me, and I think it would with you too. I appreciated the stories of the runaways who were able to find a safe haven. I liked the stories of the enslaved women who successfully escaped with their children and their families. Most of the stories reflected in this book of fugitives were not recaptured regardless of the many newspaper advertisements created by enslavers. I also liked the detailed history of many proclamations, laws, and acts passed during the colonial period. I didn't like that this book included various dates, which can be confusing and overwhelming. Although this book is not a novel or written for enjoyment, I recommend it because it gives an insight of what enslaved women experienced that motivated them to escape. We can also become aware of the unfairness and mistreatment enslaved women received for wanting to obtain the liberty whites possessed. I like how detailed the author is when explaining what the fugitives were wearing and what they took with them. As described in the book, many of the women did not travel alone. I appreciate that the author described if the woman was pregnant or the number of children that she carried with them. Facts like these create compassion for the mothers who gave their lives for their children to be born free or to have a better life. Like I said, this book created strong emotions and empathy for those who experienced physical, mental, and emotional trauma during slavery. And more especially now that I have children, I cannot imagine what their children had to go through and experience during the Revolutionary era in the United States. When building my lesson plan, I focused on the impact African Americans and women had on the American Revolutionary War. As described on Running from Bondage, the exodus of slaves created a severe shortage that destroyed the basis of the South's productive economy and weakened the wealth and power of its richest families. Enslaved women perceived that their best chances for freedom resided with the British. Women from the North and the South took refuge in British camps, aided the Loyalist cause as spies, cooks, nurses, and performed duties for the British Army. What encouraged enslaved women to escape bondage during the Revolutionary period were Lord Donmore's 1775 proclamation and Sir Henry Clinton's Pillsbury Proclamation of 1779, which offered freedom to fugitives who joined the British Army. The two proclamations were a military measure designed to prevent the use of black men by the Patriot Army. According to the Royal Gazette 666, formerly enslaved women and men worked for the British Army in Charleston. They also served as guides because they knew the terrain well, which was beneficial for the British. British ships took many fugitive slaves that by 1785, 3,000 black people were transported out of the U.S. British occupied the city of New York for 7 years, but later Cornwallis supported the sale of enslaved men and women to pay for army supplies, which made enslaved women realize that they were not safe in the hands of the British. The lesson plan I created is based on constructivism, where the learner will use previous experience and understanding of slavery to construct a new understanding of why enslaved women fought to escape bondage. With this lesson plan, I hope to answer the essential question for this lesson of how African Americans and women impacted the American Revolution. Thank you for listening to my book review.